Hi, happy Friday. I am here with my November 8th Friday intuition video. And yesterday in yoga, I had a lot of stuff kind of come forward that I thought I would share with you. So just kind of to go over what I've been talking about real quickly for the whole year. I only have about, 2 months left of doing these videos, but the whole year I've been talking about following our intuition, which really is, and I put it in the text here, getting into alignment with who we truly are is what our intuition is leading us to do. And so that's the goal, is to listen to our intuition and align up with who we really are in here. I've talked about how we have this gap between who we really are and who we present out to the world. Everybody has this, but the goal with following our intuition is to make that gap smaller and smaller and smaller. So who we present to the outside world is really who we are. We're not wearing a mask. And in that, there were a couple things that came up in yoga for me yesterday. Yoga is a big practice of mine right now for meditation, getting into alignment with who I am, taking care of myself emotionally, physically, mentally, and yoga does that quite well for me. Dance often does too. Right now, yoga is really my focus. But there is a part of this of also living vulnerable. When we start to take away this mask and we start to really see who we truly are, and we really, really start moving to following and hearing our intuition. Now, I also talked about earlier in this year, clearing away all the stuff that quiets that intuitive voice. A lot of us, it's drinking, smoking, eating, overworking. There's a lot of stuff that we do to not hear our intuition. It's always there, but it gets quieter and quieter. We can kind of push it aside. But what happens over time is we get more and more and more unhappy. We're not living a life in freedom. We're not living a life and feeling truly centered in who we are. And there is a feeling of being in alignment with who you are. That is really what I believe our goal is in our happiness. And a lot of times we spend most of our life, at least I did growing up, trying to look for in outside things outside of myself, and it never will work. And so when I work on getting into alignment, really being comfortable with who I truly am, now that's where the vulnerability comes in, because it's vulnerable to be comfortable with who you really are and to be able to present that to the world. And I am going to say right now that the most important part of that, when you're in this process, I have been actively really digging into this for the last 10 years. And I'm in a vulnerable spot now. I'm making some changes in what I want to put out there of who I really am. I have some music stuff I'm doing, and all of a sudden I'm like, woo, this is vulnerable. So what I do is I don't just go blast it to the world. I go to people who I know I can be vulnerable with first. I get comfortable with who I am now. We're always growing and shedding who we were to who we are now. And that's always going to feel a little vulnerable. That's never going to go away. It's a part of growing. It's a part of listening to my intuition. I'm getting really clear on that right now. The other thing that I'm getting really clear on that I got in yoga yesterday was, and this is such a big part of our world right now, is as we come into alignment with who we really are, and that gap between who we really are and who we present to the world gets smaller, guess what? We don't worry so much about the differences of others because we're so much more comfortable with who we are. We stop controlling. We stop doing some of these things on other people because we're focused on our own alignment. And when we do that, we can live with people that have different opinions, different beliefs. Now, this is the funniest thing, but I was in yoga yesterday. I do hot yoga. And there was a moment where it got really hot and the instructor said, "So how's everybody doing?" And I'm like, "It's really hot." And a lady like 3 over from me goes, no, it's not hot. She didn't want him to turn down the heat. And I kind of laughed because I realized, oh, there it is. There's our difference, right? I'm hot. She's not hot. it can go in two ways. It can be like, okay, let's deal with, we're both in a difference. That's okay. And we did. We finished the class. There was no discussion. We both said bye. But I really thought about it. It was such a minor thing compared to what we're seeing right now going on in differences. But I really was like, wow, you know what? Like we're all different. We all have a lot of differences. And a lot of us are uncomfortable with differences in other people's opinions and how they believe and what they want to have happen in their life. And we grow up with people wanting us to do what they want us to do. I mean, we go to school. I was a school teacher. We did this with my students. We want them to do what we want them to do. We're not teaching them how to align with themselves, follow their intuition. In fact, at first, when people start doing that, I will give you a warning, because this is true. People get kind of weird and freaked out that are used to you being somebody else. Like if they're used to your mask, they're used to your presentation, and then you start being like, this is really who I feel like I am, which is, I'm going to say again, a normal part, I believe, of growing. We are always growing and shedding what used to work for us, doesn't work for us anymore, or maybe isn't who we are anymore, and we are stepping into a more solid part of who we are now. It will make people around us uncomfortable a little bit. And I think, though, when we're really honest, and we're honest with ourselves, and we're vulnerable with people, and we're compassionate, and we can actually connect with ourselves and with other people, then there's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to be afraid of with that alignment of who we are and not going along with what somebody else wants, because maybe that makes them feel more comfortable. So that's my intuition video for the week. I am going to meet with my gals that are my tight artist group gals to talk about some of my vulnerability. I am putting out a song of the month for the next year. That's kind of my new goal, and a newsletter, and talking a lot more about my music. And it feels really vulnerable to me, but it is a definite big piece of me and who I am that I haven't been sharing lately, and my intuition is really, really pushing me to share that more. So you'll see a little bit of that. I have another Facebook page that's just for my music. If you haven't liked it, feel free to like it. It's Christy Bruno. You'll see much more of my music and just kind of the background of the songs that I've written over the years. I'll do the first one for my grandmother, who's going to would be 100 years old November 10th. And I come from a military family, so I have a military-esque song that I'll put out for Veterans Day. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and it feels so vulnerable, but I'm walking through that, and I want to stay connected to who I am, in alignment with who I am, and following my intuition. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Hey, Tim. Hey, Jean. I see you guys there watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you soon.